All right.
Okay.
So here I am. This is Mr. Barry at the GCTV podcast studio.
And this is Nicholas Majeka at the GCTV podcast studio.
I'm happy to be here today for our little after-school session. We just watched a little suspenseful scene from one of my favorite films, The Untouchables.
Yeah, I haven't seen that though. I heard I guess it has some good stuff about it. But
Oh yeah. Robert De Niro plays the big gangster in that movie. Al Capone, one of the most famous mafia figures in history. Kevin Costner is assigned to take him down, and during the Prohibition, when alcohol was being sold illegally, and Brian De Palma, the director, is a big Alfred Hitchcock fan, which means the movie is full of suspense. And we just watched the famous train station scene involving a baby carriage, a shootout, a bunch of mafia figures, and the good guys winning in the end. So what did you think of that whole thing that you just watched?
It was like art house. It was like artsy a little bit. I mean, I know it's a mainstream film possibly, but it has like an artsy feel to that scene because of how like slow it is and like.
Right.
And honestly, I've seen many art house films that like have build-ups, and I think they're very interesting to watch. I mean, like especially like experimental or surrealist ones, I guess. I don't know, but
right.
Like like for example, I think I'm not sure what to say actually, but I mean, I know.
I think you're onto something here because Brian De Palma was, he was a real student of film, and he did make some real big movies. This was a huge movie, when it came out, real successful, real, mainstream, a big hit, and it was nominated for Oscars. But I think he comes from a history of being a real film, aficionado, if you will, studying the old masters and understanding and watching art house movies.
Yeah, of course.
And trying to bring that into this, not just make a big spectacular, what they call a popcorn movie, but to make a big spectacular movie with big stars that still has an artistic flair.
I mean, there are some indie films that have like big name actors in them, and they still get nominated for Oscars, like the film Whiplash. You ever seen Whiplash?
Yeah, I did see Whiplash.
Yeah, that movie's like so like epic. It's like that movie's like it makes you like sweat basically because it's like, I read many analysis of that movie, and apparently they say it's like not like it's not the type of movie that like encourages you or anything. Like I read analysis that apparently like near the ending he's like part of him now. He's part of his like abusive teacher now to the point where to the point where I think like it might seem like a good ending where he's like succeeded, but I read a comment that said like he's like it's not like a feel good like sort of like it's obviously it's not feel good, but it's
right.
like it's like it's like at the ending he's like not he's like out of his like original personality to the point where he's like he's basically part of him now basically, which I guess can come off as an interesting theory. I don't know, but that's just something I read.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah, right. And that, of course, was an Oscar-winning movie for
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons, yeah, who's mostly at that point really a TV actor.
Yeah, he was in Spider-Man, obviously. I mean,
right.
He was
great in the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man's movie.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course. But of course, he was in other films. Obviously, like he was in Burn After Reading. I mean,
right.
Yeah. But it's
most people know him though as
I mean, all
bum, right? The commercial that he does all the time.
Oh yeah, the M&M's commercial.
He does. No, he does like insurance company commercial, doesn't he?
I don't remember those.
Yeah. What is the commercial that he's famous for? Dun 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 dun.
Forgot about that.
He does. Yeah, he does an insurance company commercial. But yeah, that was a big moment for him. He and I think he deserved winning an Oscar for that. He was fantastic.
Yeah, like. It's also similar into like Black Swan a little bit. You ever seen Black Swan?
Sure.
Yeah, I watched an analysis video, and apparently like it talked about how Black Swan and Whiplash are basically similar. Like it talks about how they're not ready, and like how like they're both like being pressured basically. Like, obviously like it honestly it's like. Yeah, basically it was like talking about how the movies were similar in like context, I guess, and
I'd like to read that because those are I find those to be two very different films. But then I guess you're right,
There's a video about it. I've seen a video about it. It's very interesting to watch. I mean, I've seen both films and they're very like, and they're basically you can I guess you can call them cult classics or whatever, but even though Whiplash probably isn't like it's basically one of those indie films that everyone knows, like like Everything Everywhere All at Once or My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I don't know, but
See, now I have not seen yet Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I want to, and I've started it, and then I start watching it too late at night, and I get tired, and I want to like dedicate the time to watch it because I hear it's amazing.
Yeah, it's like it won like a ton of Oscars. And apparently it's like, I guess you could say it's obvious, and it's like impressive. Like it was like pretty unexpected, I guess. It's like kind of like
I don't think that was really the movie that I expected to be up there on the Oscar podium as much as it was.
You know what's weird? I mean, people always see it as like a mainstream film. I read comments about people saying that it's like the first ever original. People are like treating it like it was the first ever original film to come out in decades, even though it's like which isn't really true.
No, it's not.
But the thing is that people are treating this like it's a mainstream film, even though I've learned it's an independent film.
Right.
Yeah, it's from A24 of all companies. You ever heard of A24 movies?
No.
Well, a lot of their movies they're basically like this indie film company. They're more mainstream now, basically, but at the same time, they're still pretty indie-ish. I mean, they were founded back in like 2012, so they're a pretty new company if you think about it.
Okay.
And and they've been making movies ever since.
What's their name?
A24.
A24.
Yeah, they look up A24 movies.
A24 movies.
Yeah, or they have like a
Civil War.
That's their latest film.
Talk to Me.
Talk to Me. That's a horror film. They have a
The Green Knight.
Midsummer.
Oh yeah, they did Midsummer. Okay, now I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's quite a movie.
Yeah, Midsummer. I've seen that. That movie's very art house-ish.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's like, and also they also did Hereditary, which I haven't seen yet.
No.
And they also did Beau is Afraid, which is like a surrealist tragic comedy horror film with like Joaquin Phoenix.
Right.
And Joaquin Phoenix, I think he's my favorite actor, honestly, alongside Timothée Chalamet. I mean, he's done a ton of roles revolving around like for example, like period dramas or like indie films, basically.
Right.
And and of course he I think he was good in The Master, which I heard in that his role in that film inspired his role in Joker, and which I guess
he's unbelievable in Joker.
Yeah, that movie blew me away when I first saw it. I was like 14 when I saw it. I think when it like first I didn't see when it was in theaters, but I saw when like the year it came out. Like
right.
I remember, and I was like really blown away. It was like it was like the first. It felt like the first art house movie I ever saw. It was so cool.
Well, and he tackled such an iconic character.
Yeah, I mean, it was like more of it's like a psychological thriller, basically, but it's a. But it's what's weird. It's like it feels like an art house film, but it's mainstream. It's like it's weird.
Right. But it's because of the subject matter. I mean, because the Joker, goes back, 50, 60 years, even more probably at this point.
I mean, yeah, but it's like I guess it's just cool. I mean, it's.
He's not cartoony. I don't know if you ever saw the old Batman TV shows where the Joker was really brilliantly played by Cesar Romero, but he was a bit cartoony back then.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how people saw superheroes.
And then Jack Nicholson played him in the Tim Burton movies, and he was a lot darker.
Yeah, I mean that probably changed everything.
And then the comics at that point really started to dig into the Joker as being this, psychopathic murderer.
Yeah, I mean, like as it went on.
Right, and then Heath Ledger, of course, was unbelievable in the Dark Knight movie.
Rest in peace to him.
Yeah, and that movie made me uncomfortable at times watching him on the screen.
Wow, really?
Yes, whenever he spoke a line or did a scene in that movie, I felt it, and that's why he won the Oscar. And I didn't think anyone was going to be able to tackle the Joker quite so well again until that Joaquin Phoenix film is just, that really explored the mental health aspect, I think, of it too. Where the Joker really wasn't such a bad guy. He just had a horrible life and was treated unfairly and was treated poorly. And,
or just one bad day, as they call it.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a new one coming out, which I'm excited for. It's gonna come out in like October, and it's gonna have Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn.
As Harley Quinn.
And honestly, I'm excited for it. It looks like it just looks like. It just looks cool. It's like a musical psychological thriller, which I think is very interesting for like a mainstream film. Like,
well, I think they're living in his head, and let's try and show what it's like in this guy's head. And I think he hears me. This Todd Phillips, right?
Todd Phillips. Yeah, he
Right.
directed it.
What else did Todd Phillips do besides the Joker?
Well, he did a bunch of,
Oh, The Hangover.
and he directed.
Road Trip. These are not his kind of movies. Old School. Those are all comedies.
Yeah, those are just weird, raunchy comedies.
They were raunch comedies, right? Exactly. War Dogs. War Dogs was pretty good. Project X. Oh my God, he did the Starsky and Hutch movie. Oh, but he did A Star Is Born. See, I see now where he's coming from.
Oh,
He directed Borat. That's unfortunate.
or me? No, I
So-
don't think he directed it. I think he
Maybe he produced it.
I don't know. I'm not sure really.
Yeah, well, this is a very. I'm looking forward to that, and I really, once again, another time where I think an actress. I've read a lot of the comics. I read a lot of Harley Quinn comics. She's a great character, I think.
I mean, yeah.
And
I
I think the only good thing about the what do you call it movie, Suicide Squad movie, the first one, was what's her face as Harley Quinn,
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie.
I mean, I don't know.
She's fantastic as Harley Quinn, and even in the movies afterwards, I thought she was perfect. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what Lady Gaga can do with Harley Quinn.
I'm honestly confused why people hated Suicide Squad. Like, you know,
The first one?
I mean, the first one. I mean, like, you know, I mean, like, it's like one of those movies that just looks so ordinary, right? But then it's like, but then you look at the comments in it, and there's like this huge like war that it's like you know that, you know, like there's like this huge war, but that like that obviously you don't have to care about. You can just
Right.
like the movie for what it is. Like, it's
Are
kind
you
of
Are you a comic reader?
not really. I collect,
Okay.
I collect vintage comics though. I actually have one Superman comic from the 50s.
Oh,
Actually.
nice.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone, I read a lot of Suicide Squad comics and a lot of Harley Quinn comics, and I think the fans' expectations were just ridiculously high for someone finally trying to tackle the Suicide Squad on film.
I mean, it's like I said before. Critics complain about everything basically.
Well, yes, they do, and fans do too.
I mean, yeah.
Thanks to the internet, everyone can have an opinion and you know and trash everything, and not everything deserves to be trashed.
But you know, at the same time, I'm taking a break from social media, which I think is
Oh,
better.
good. That's very good for you. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
I mean, yeah, I've always taken a break from it. I mean, yeah, I mean, I've always tried to. I mean, I've been taking a break from it since like last year or something. I don't know, and yeah, I just think it's better for me to just take a break from it because you know I'm not like I just. To be honest, I have like a pretty weird view on movie critics. Like, I mean, like, I know it's just their opinion and stuff, but at the same time, it's like they believe that starting a war or like starting this whole culture war is like going to be like it's going to make things better or whatever, even though it's really not. Like I'm just like I just you know I'm just not the type of person that's involved in that stuff really.
I guess because it's art, and art is such a an opinionated thing. You know,
Like, it's like such a like art house can be such a polarizing thing, I guess.
Right.
And I guess you know it's like when the Ghostbusters reboot came out. Remember the Ghostbusters reboot from with the woman?
with the women, yeah.
Yeah, that movie didn't do really. That movie,
No, it didn't do well.
It really didn't do well for some reason. Even though if you think about it, it's just this ordinary movie that just has like women as Ghostbusters, which you know.
Right. I think it's very difficult for a filmmaker to try and attack something like that because the first Ghostbusters movie is so iconic.
Yeah, it's like you know, it's like this big '80s phenomenon, and of course, a bunch of '80s kids who are like or it's obviously for like it's targeting many demographics. Obviously, it's targeting like '80s kids or like you know people who grew up back in the day, or it's target today's kids or whatever.
At first, I thought it received a lot of flack for women. Like, why do we need women in the roles? You know, we had a good set of guys play this. Do we really need to make a movie about the women?
It's a little misogynistic.
It is, but I think that's what it suffered from. But then I saw, and you know, I'm going off a little bit here. I'm a real big fan of the Ocean's 11 series of movies. Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12 is not that good a film, but Ocean's 13 is fantastic. And then they made Ocean's 8 with an all-female cast.
I mean, my mom likes
And
that movie.
that's a great movie. That's a great movie with great characters. It's beautifully done. So I wonder if, you know, I don't think the Ghostbusters reboot was just all that good a movie. I wasn't so appalled by the fact that there was women in the role, but you know, but I think it did suffer from that. Like, do we really need to remake this with women in it? Well, why not try it with women in it? But I don't think they did such a great job.
but no, I think it's an interesting idea though. I mean, like honestly, like they're like comedians. The Ghostbusters reboot. They're actually played by these comedians, which I think is very interesting. And I think that that could have been like I mean, honestly, I don't really care what people think. I liked it when I was little. So yeah, but you know, even to this day, I still kind of like it. I mean, it's like
Going back to the Suicide Squad for a minute, what I think, and what I try and teach my students in class, and this is a filmmaking class kind of thing, and I don't teach a filmmaking class, but movies are 3 acts, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3.
Yeah.
And usually, most movies have difficulty with Act 3. They have difficulty wrapping everything up in the end.
Yeah, especially when it's a trilogy.
Very true. The first 30 minutes of Suicide Squad, when they're introducing all these characters, is fantastic. It's good filmmaking. Everyone who loved these characters in the comics was finally getting to see them on screen by big name actors. Oh, what are they going to look like? Are they going to do a good job? And they really nailed it. The second act was still pretty good, but it led me nowhere. The third act was just kind of like, oh, it didn't really take me someplace in the end. So I think from a screenwriting point of view, and that's a very difficult thing. The third act is always the difficult thing.
Yeah.
You can nail the third act and send people home feeling good about what they just saw, then you've done,
You've succeeded.
you've succeeded, correct? But I think that's where. But before, when we were talking about audience reaction, and because I said that I saw this movie, The Untouchables, in the theater on opening night, and the famous culmination of that scene where Andy Garcia comes sliding in on the floor and saves the baby and tosses the gun to Kevin Costner, and the good guys win. That the entire theater just stood up and applauded. It was one of those rare moments. And you brought up the Avengers, and you said that you had you saw a moment kind of similar to that in
in the theater.
the final Avengers movie.
Yeah, I mean, like that movie had that movie, in my opinion, has like the best, I guess, third act everyone's seen probably.
Well, because a lot of us who love those movies felt like we lost so much in the other Avengers movie when everybody died,
But at the same time,
quote unquote died, and then they all came back. So, but yeah, people were applauding in that theater too.
But to be honest, there's like probably like a difference between critics and audiences. Like, I mean, like critics like take it very seriously. Like they don't know. Like it's like they don't remember what it's like. In my opinion, it's like they forgot what fun was. It's like
Yeah, very true.
yeah, like for example, it's like, do you remember what fun is? I mean, it's like watching movies. Like when you watch a movie, you don't like look up like the subtitles like off of like it's like you're not like looking really closely like the special effects or like at the filming cinematography. You're supposed to just, I mean, yeah, you can focus on cinematography, but not on special effects because.
Right.
You can just if you like the cinematography, that's great. But focusing on special effects, that can be a problem. Like if the special effects are accidentally bad, then that means you're gonna get some big like bad reviews from critics.
Right.
And,
But it doesn't. I said this to you in the very beginning of our meetings last week and it's the same thing that I've always tried to drill into my students' heads over the years. It's really, to me, it's all about the story. If you're telling me a good story, and you go through with the whole story until the end of the movie, I could walk out feeling good.
Exactly. I mean, like
even if the special effects were cheesy or if the cinematography wasn't perfect, tell me a good story.
Exactly.
Please.
Like, it should just be about the story, not like what the special effects are. I mean, like it doesn't really. I mean, like it doesn't matter if they're like cartoonish looking or cheesy. You just maybe just look at the story. If you like the story, or maybe if it doesn't take you and you think it sucks, then maybe then. I guess you leave the theater, but at the same time, you don't have to leave the theater. You can maybe just try to enjoy it and just think and just see it your own way.
Well, listen, I've always felt that a day or a night in the theater with some popcorn and good sound and a big screen
is enjoyable.
Beats being at home or raking leaves or digging holes in the backyard. So like I would much rather be sitting in the theater enjoying what someone's trying to put out there.
I mean, yeah.
Let's see what you can give me tonight.
But at the end of the day, I'm interested in a lot of art house cinema and a lot of like indie cinema, and
right.
And I feel like that's at the same time, like, the movie community can be kind of toxic. What I mean is the critics, basically. Like the movie critics and the audiences, like they have like so many different opinions on like what a movie like special effects are. Like they always say stuff like, "Oh, it tried," or "Oh, it sucks," or it's like. But I don't know if it tried. Like every time, it's like sometimes I'm haunted by them. Like, yeah, sometimes I'm haunted by these movie critics and like and their opinions. Like saying stuff like, "Why can't companies create something original anymore?" Which isn't true. Like, like have you seen like recent, like for example, like there's a movie called Licorice Pizza that came out recently, and and that you ever seen that movie?
No, but I know I've heard of it recently and I haven't seen it.
It's basically like it's basically like this love story set in the 70s, and it's from the director of Magnolia and Punch Drunk Love and The Master. And it's Paul Thomas Anderson.
Paul Thomas Anderson, yeah,
And
right.
yeah, it's like it's a very interesting movie. It's like it came out like, you know, when you know so-called bad movies like Space Jam and New Legacy were coming out, and and you know
Right.
at the same time, like I feel like that movie can like really give you the real cinema experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, completely. Well, that's what he does.
I mean, that's what indie directors or art house cinemas are doing right now. Like, that's what I feel like. This is what a lot of directors are trying to do right now. They're trying to like recapture that like that old like Hollywood feel, basically, from
Right.
back in the day. Like how like people like are seeing cinema, basically. Like they're trying to recapture how people saw cinema back then, and they're trying to recapture that as in you know in today's world, basically.
Right. I think he's another one of those guys who's also a big.
I guess he's a big director, I assume. I mean, he's actually doing.
He is. I mean, I do think. I don't want to say he flies under the radar a little bit. He flies under the radar a little bit, you know. But you know, There Will Be Blood was a big movie. I didn't see that.
I haven't seen that.
Magnolia. I was watching last night,
You
as a
haven't
matter of fact. So
Yeah, Magnolia. That movie's like intense. It's like
Yeah.
it's basically like about finding happiness and like.
Right.
In my opinion, I feel like it's one of those movies we need right now. You think like?
Yeah.
I feel like we really need a movie right now that talks about people like trying to find happiness in today's
yeah,
world.
I think you're right, Nicholas. I really do.
I feel like there really should be. Maybe I can try to create one or like a short like
Well, maybe
more-
you can. Maybe that's what you're meant to be around for, to do that.
Like if I ever, I don't know. I mean, I'll think about it. Like if I ever become this filmmaker that does indie stuff, I can create a film that talks about these characters trying so hard to find happiness in today's world of like
Right.
you know social media or like constant culture wars.
Yeah,
or,
absolutely.
yeah, like you know,
That's a story.
yeah, instead of that's what I'm actually been thinking about. This is like a movie idea. Basically, like it talks about like these characters. Like it basically talks about like it's like hyperlink cinema. It's like these interconnected characters, like these interconnected stories, and these characters are like basically they lead these normal lives, but at the same time they're still like unfulfilled by them because of the constant like. They're constantly haunted by the culture wars or the constant like negative or the constant like social media wars
Right.
constantly happening to the point where they're trying to take a break from that stuff and trying to find happiness in the real world, basically.
Right.
And honestly, that sounds like an interesting movie idea. I feel like Magnolia is exactly like that, basically.
I think you're right.
I feel like we really need a movie like that more. Like we need movies like we need a movie like that right now because that would probably impress people. Or I don't know.
And
just-
Magnolia goes back, geez, since 1999.
Yeah, the mo-
It's been a while.
Yeah, I mean that movie is technically the movie of the new millennium, and that's I read in a book that movie is basically the beginning of the new millennium because you know I mean but it was 1999. I mean
Yeah.
that was when, I mean, it was actually released December of '99, which I guess can make sense. You know, it was probably a big movie, I think, because
Oh no, it was a very big movie. I remember. I mean, you know, it was big at the Oscars that year and the Golden Globes.
yeah, stuff like
So
that.
you know, and Paul Thomas Anderson also directed one of my favorite movies, is Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights, I've seen that. It's like
Yeah.
it's a very like it's not like the type of film that's for everyone though.
No.
It's like
No.
it's a very like it has a lot of inappropriate stuff in it,
Oh
but
well, completely. It's about the adult film industry.
yeah, it's from the adult.
So-
Obviously, yeah, I know it's obviously about that, but you know, at the same time, it has a good filmmaking skills.
Well, but at the same point, it's more about characters and people
yeah, not like
and what they went through and how the Burt Reynolds lead character forms this wacky little family, and at the end of the film, you're left with them as this weird sort of unit of people that depend on each other.
Yeah.
And in the end, they found their niche in life, and
decided that maybe you shouldn't like engage in that type of behavior, basically.
well, yeah, there's some heavy stuff in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's just I guess it's an interesting story.
Talking about suspense, the scene in that movie where they're in the guy's house when he's throwing the firecrackers around.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about uncomfortable. That scene made me very uncomfortable. I kept waiting for something awful to happen, and it kind of did. That's kind of where things went wrong in his life.
Yeah, it's like one of those. It's one of those stressful movies.
Right. But we don't need that right now. What you're saying is, and I think that's very positive of you.
Like I want a movie that like talks about like honestly I look in the bright. I'm the type of person that looks in the bright side of life, right?
Nice.
Yeah, I want to I just want to make a movie that talks about these characters like it'll be similar to Magnolia a little bit, but but it'll basically be like these characters just trying so hard to find happiness or like just trying to like find a desperate search for human connection and like in the age of social media or culture wars, basically. Like like for example, like there's this huge war of like of like this movie that everyone's arguing about on the internet, and it's obvious that those people don't have anything better to do, and it's obvious that it's better. It's honestly the reason why I like to. like that while that is happening, there's like this huge cast of characters trying, like I said, like trying the said things. Yeah.
Well, take a pen to paper or a keyboard to your screen and
I mean, if
start writing your story.
I mean, yeah, I can think about that. It can be like a short. It can be like a 95-minute short film or whatever. I don't know, or like it can be like 100. I'm honestly, maybe if I'll think about it. Yeah, I'll just think about it.
You should. Maybe you're the director that we've all been waiting for, Nicholas.
Yeah, I mean, like
start telling us happy stories again.
I just want to tell us. It'll have like sort of a happy ending, or maybe or maybe not a happy ending. I mean, not because not everything has to have a happy ending, I guess. But I guess.
Maybe a realistic ending.
Maybe it's sort of a realistic ending, but the characters will still feel happy, but at the same time, it's just life goes on,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, you can still you can still do your at the end of the day. I think the characters will learn like these weird morals that you can still just stay off of social media and not care about what people are thinking.
Of course, I wish more people would do that.
Yeah, I want to stay off.
As somebody who grew up without it, when I was your age, it didn't exist, so I didn't. It's not like I ever knew I missed it.
I mean, honestly, I feel like missing it. I want to miss out on all this constant movie trashing crap.
Yep.
Yeah. I just want to just be myself and just not care what people think.
Well, good for you. You should do that.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I don't care what people I mean, I'm also really into music also. I'm into a lot of music.
Yeah, that's a whole other discussion we're gonna have on one of our next podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, music. I mean, really change. Music can really change you and just in my opinion, I feel like music can really change you and give you a more positive outlook in life. So that's what I mean.
Right. So can movies.
I mean, yeah. If you don't care what people think about movies, then you can, and if you like the movie in your way,
right.
or only judge it based on what you've seen,
right.
then that you have a more brighter look in the life. Then
that's a wonderful note to wrap up today's podcast on. We're hitting 27 minutes, which is pretty solid of a discussion.
Yeah.
We started out with suspense movies, and we ended up with trying to live happy lives.
Yeah, I mean, just live, love what you like. Just be happy with what you own, basically.
Wonderful.
Nothing has to be perfect. If you weren't perfect, you wouldn't be crying. Just like what you love, or just be happy with what you have.
Great advice to anyone who's going to listen to this when we post it from Nicholas Manjeka and Mr. Barry.
And this was the GC High School
GCTV podcast number 1 for Mr. Barry and Nicholas. Hopefully in a series of a few of them to come.
Hopefully this inspires you in some way.
Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you next time.
And adios.
Yeah, right. Farewell.
Farewell.